What's going on, baseball fans? How you doing? So the offseason is starting to wind down, so in this video, I wanted to go over the moves that I think are pretty underrated. Let's go talk about it. If you are new to the channel, think about subscribing down below. We're trying to get to 30K by opening day. Hit the like button, the bell button, the share button, hit all the buttons. Starting off my list at number 10, I have the Angels signing Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson to the Angels happened very early in the offseason, and while Tyler Anderson is not going to be Justin Verlander, Jacob deGrom, what I think Tyler Anderson is a really solid lefty that will bring some stability to this Angels rotation. Now, the Angels, they did have some good starting pitching last year, but for the Angels to be more competitive, I think they just need to have a bit more depth in their starting rotation. You got Shohei Ohtani at the top. Tyler Anderson will be in the number 2 spot. But then you got guys like Sandoval, Suarez, Detmers as well. A lot of lefties in this rotation. But I think Tyler Anderson just brings more of a veteran presence. This guy's a gamer. He goes out there and he competes. But most of all, the numbers speak for themselves. Last year had himself a really good season with the Dodgers. 30 games, 28 starts, a 2.57 ERA. FIP at a 3.31. That was very solid. Easily the best year of his career. Now, can he continue that success with the Angels? They're definitely going to need it. This Angels team, very talented, and they definitely could make a run at the playoffs. But Tyler Anderson, I think, just brings more stability to this team, and I think that's exactly what the Angels need. At number 9, I have the Red Sox signing Masataka Yoshida. Here come the Giraffe Neck Robbie comments. I can see them already, but hear me out. I think he can be a really solid player at the major league level. Taking a look at his numbers from last year in 2022, over 121 games, hit 336 with a 449 on base and a 559 slugging. Taking a look at his career numbers, he hit 327 with a 421 on base and a 539 slugging over 7 seasons. If we go take a look here at Ichiro's numbers in Japan, very similar numbers. Actually, well, he did have the better batting average. They actually had the same on-base percentage, and Yoshida had the better slugging percentage. So there are similarities with these two players. Ichiro obviously went on to have a very good career in the major leagues. I think Yoshida, who knows if he can be a superstar or not, but I think the floor is really high. He's an on-base machine. He's almost impossible to strike out. The guy never struck out in Japan, makes a ton of contact, and as of right now, he is projected to be the leadoff hitter for the Red Sox. You know, while the Red Sox, they've definitely had a bit of an up and down offseason, losing fan favorite Xander Bogaerts, you know, especially after losing Mookie Betts a couple of years ago. But, you know, re-signing Rafael Devers long term. They've made a couple other moves, you know, Justin Turner, Kenley Jansen. They've brought in Corey Kluber. You know, Yoshida, if he could end up living up to these projections, if we go take a look here on Fangraphs, they're actually projecting him to be very, very solid. Taking a look here at the batting average, they're expecting him to hit 298 with a 388 on base, a 479 slugging, 17 homers, and a 140 WRC plus. If he puts up these kind of numbers, I think Red Sox fans are going to be very, very happy. I know I will be ecstatic if he can put up these numbers, but I think Yoshida absolutely has the potential to just end up being a really good signing. The Red Sox were very aggressive after him. As soon as he was posted, the Red Sox basically just signed him the next day. So I think Yoshida, this could end up being one of the more underrated signings this offseason. At number 8, I have the Dodgers trading for Miguel Rojas. Miguel Rojas was very good defensively last year, and that is going to help the Dodgers out in a big way. With Trey Turner heading to Philly, they needed to find another infielder, and here comes Miguel Rojas. As of right now, Gavin Lux is projected to be the shortstop, but Gavin Lux, you know, he has been more of a guy that can hit righties. Against left-handed pitching, not so much. Now, Miguel Rojas isn't really much of a hitter. He's definitely going to bring some more defense, but I could see Miguel Rojas getting a lot of playing time at shortstop, mainly just because of the glove. If we go take a look here at the leaderboards when it comes to the shortstops last year, Miguel Rojas was 6th overall. He had 15 defensive runs saved, a 4.9 UZR. I think that glove will find its way into the Dodgers lineup more often than not. And if you take a look here at the Dodgers last year with Trey Turner, the Dodgers only ranked 17th in defense last year at shortstop. So there is definitely going to be an improvement, at least on the defensive side of things. And as for the Marlins in this deal, going back to them, they had Jacob Amaya. The Dodgers, on Fangraphs, he was their 15th overall prospect. But taking a look here Adamaya in AAA last year, he hit 259, but a really good on-base percentage of 368. Yeah, the slugging and the home runs, not really so much going on there. But Jacob Amaya, I think, has the potential to be a very serviceable shortstop in this game. Has a future hit tool of 50. Not really too much with the power, but he's going to bring you speed, and he's going to bring you a good glove in the future as well. I think Jacob Amaya, he could end up being a pretty solid player down the road. In the end, you know, who knows? At this point, I like the move. I think both sides really benefited from this. I don't think Miguel Rojas was really doing all that much for the Marlins. They needed to add more offense. Sure, they liked the glove, and Miguel Rojas was a clubhouse leader, but I think they needed to. I think this is a good move for them to make. Just, Miguel Rojas is going to be a free agent soon, adding something for the future. The Dodgers have such a deep farm to where, a really solid shortstop prospect like this, is lower in their system. So the fact that the Marlins are able to get a guy like this, I like it a lot. I definitely think in the end, this could end up being one of the more underrated moves in this offseason. At number 7, I have the Yankees signing Tommy Kahnle. The Yankees have had an eventful offseason, bringing back Aaron Judge for the long haul, signing Carlos Rodon, also bringing back Anthony Rizzo. But one guy that I think is flying under the radar a little bit is Tommy Kahnle. This is a guy that was with the Yankees a couple of years ago, good clubhouse guy. He was good in their bullpen a couple of years ago. I really loved the Yankees adding him back. Now, he was recovering from Tommy John. He came back late last year, but ended up pitching pretty well with the Dodgers down the stretch. If we go take a look here, a 2.84 ERA. The FIP is a little high, 4.38, but I do like the xFIP of a 3.14. Strikeouts still looked pretty good. Not really near his old strikeout numbers, but still right around 10 per 9, 2 walks per 9. Got to get the home runs down a little bit, but I just like this move for the Yankees because, again, I just like the character that he brings to the clubhouse. The Yankee guys loved having him there, and my Red Sox almost got him before he ended up going to the Yankees. So, and the Red Sox, they're always trying to look to bring in, good clubhouse guys. Tommy Kahnle, I think, is going to bring a good energy to this Yankee team. But also, he's just going to bring a good arm for the bullpen. Tommy Kahnle, I think, is going to be a good addition for the Yankees this season. At number 6, I have the Diamondbacks trading for Carlos Vargas. This was a pretty under-the-radar move. I mean, there's definitely a chance some of you out there may not really know who the heck I'm talking about. But in this trade, Carlos Vargas, he went from the Guardians to the Diamondbacks, and going back to the Guardians was Ross Carver. So who the heck is Carlos Vargas? Well, if we go take a look here, let's take a look at the scouting report first. He's going to be more of a reliever in the long run, but good fastball, 60 fastball as of right now, 65 for the future, and a 55 slider as of right now, and a 60 in the future. The problem with Carlos Vargas is he definitely lacks some control. If we go take a look at the numbers last year, though, they were pretty interesting. For AA in Cleveland, nothing spectacular. 24 and a third innings, 19 games overall, ERA of a 4.81, 4.07 FIP. I mean, so you're probably thinking, what the heck am I talking about this guy for? But look what he did in AAA over 8 games. He had over 14 strikeouts per 9. The walks were still up there a little bit, but look at the ERA, 0.90, 3.11 FIP, 2.47 xFIP. Now, this is a guy, when you got a big fastball like he does, good slider, he could end up being a pretty solid guy in a bullpen down the road. If he can just get his act in order when it comes to keeping the walks down, this is a guy who could end up maybe blossoming into a pretty decent reliever for the Diamondbacks. And hey, the Diamondbacks, they definitely need some bullpen help. So, hey, don't be surprised if you see Carlos Vargas at some point this season. At number 5, I have the Marlins trading for JT Shagwa and Xavier Edwards. Remember Xavier Edwards? He was a top prospect. He was involved in that Blake Snell trade a couple of years ago with the Rays and the Padres. But here's Xavier Edwards going from the Rays to the Marlins. The problem with Xavier Edwards, like I said, he was a top prospect at one point, and for good reason. Guy has an amazing hit tool. His speed is through the roof. Decent in the field, not really a whole lot of power. But when you got the speed, the athleticism of this guy, combined with what he's been able to do with the bat in his career, I mean, take a look at what he did in 2021 in AA. He hit 302 with a 377 on base, but something happened with him last year. His numbers really dipped. His batting average went down to a 246. His on base went down to a 328. So let's see if a change of scenery, a different organization can get him back on track. The talent is there. He's a switch hitter, makes a ton of contact, gets on base. I hope the best for for Xavier Edwards. And for the Marlins, if they can get him back on track, that could be a great pickup for them. But they also did get JT Shagwa, who's going to go into their bullpen as of right now. 2.42 ERA. The FIP is definitely higher at a 4.28. But with Shagwa, he's had good success over the last couple of years, especially when it comes to the ERA. I definitely think he's going to be productive for the Marlins in that bullpen. Now, going back to the Rays, we got a couple of interesting guys. We got Marcus Johnson. Guys, 6'6", 200 pounds. He's got good spin rates on his fastball. So I think the Rays were intrigued about that. I think if the Rays, they can figure out something with him, maybe get him to the next level, he could end up being a really good pitcher in their system. And there's another one here, Santiago Suarez. This is a guy here. I got the scouting report pulled up on Baseball America. He brings good stuff, and he's got good mechanics, and mechanics that he can repeat over and over again. And for being as young as he is, he's already up to 94 miles an hour, riding life at the top of the zone, and at the age of what he's at right now, which is 18 years old. I mean, this guy could end up being really good for the Rays. The Rays, when they trade for prospects, they see something in these guys. Don't be surprised if these two guys end up being something special for the Rays down the road. And hey, for the Marlins, if they can get Xavier Edwards back on track, that could end up being a really good hitter for them down the road. I like this trade overall. I think it flew under the radar. At number 4, I have the Guardians signing Mike Zunino. Mike Zunino was really good a couple of years ago, hitting for a ton of power, playing great defense for the Rays, but last year was having a lot of problems, had thoracic outlet syndrome, ended up getting surgery on it, but reports are looking good with his shoulder. Everything seems to be going well, and Mike Zunino is going to end up being the everyday catcher for the Guardians. They do also have Bo Naylor there, but Mike Zunino, this is a guy who was an all-star just a couple of years ago. And for the Guardians, they really lacked power last year. If he comes back healthy, I mean, man, they're going to have a lot of power in this lineup. I'm definitely interested to see what Mike Zunino ends up doing. He was one of my favorite players a couple of years ago. I love that power bat, but also the defense that he brought too. I like this move for the Guardians. At number 3, I have the Phillies trading for Gregory Soto. Gregory Soto, an all-star not too long ago, has an electric arm from the left side. This guy throws absolute gas. The Phillies, they got a whole lot of options in this bullpen right now. For closer, you could go with Soto. You could go with Kimbrel. You can go with Alvarado. You can go with Dominguez. There's a lot of options here. I'm sure they'll figure it out in spring training. Now, Soto doesn't have the greatest projected numbers, but the ERA has been pretty solid for him, and I think that is because he has just good velocity. He can lack some control, but I think if the Phillies use him correctly, get him back on track with the command, he walks a lot of guys. That's another problem with him, but I think if they can get him right, he can end up being a really good piece for them. But they got Nick Maton, who right now is projected to be their everyday third baseman. You also got Matt Vierling, who's put up good projected numbers as well. Good exit velocities, good barrel percentages. I think Matt Vierling, if given an opportunity, he can definitely be an everyday player, especially when, someone like Akil Baddoo really struggled last year. Don't be surprised if Matt Vierling ends up getting an opportunity. Also adding, a young catcher in Donnie Sands. I really like this deal. I think, everyone looks at Gregory Soto in this deal, and I definitely think he can be a big piece of that Phillies bullpen. But I just also like what the Tigers got back in this deal as well. At number 2, I have the A's signing Shintaro Fujinami. This is a really interesting one. Shintaro Fujinami, this was a guy in Japan. He was in the same draft class as Shohei Ohtani. Some people even thought that Fujinami could even be better than Shohei Ohtani, at least on the pitching side of things. This guy throws absolute gas. Unfortunately, in Japan, he's been a bit up and down. He's posted good numbers some years, but then he's gotten hit hard in other years. Overall, in 10 seasons in Japan, he has a 3.41 ERA over right around just under 1,000 innings pitched, but he has over 1,000 strikeouts. Now, with Fujinami, right now, he is projected to be in the A's rotation, but some people think he could be even better in the bullpen. If we go take a look here at some of the scouting, his strikeout and walk rates, like I've said, he's been a bit up and down in Japan, but if you take a look last year, his strikeout rates were up and his walks were down, so it seems like maybe he figured something out there. And if we go take a look at his arsenal, he's got a four-seamer, a splitter, a slider, and a curveball. And when it comes to his velocity, he's averaging right around 96 miles an hour on that velocity. A very hard splitter as well, averaging around 91 miles an hour, and then a slider and a curveball to go along with it. If we take a look at the percentile rankings in the final season of Fujinami compared to guys like Kadai Senga, Arihara, Kikuchi, and Ohtani, he was actually in the 90th percentile when it came to whiffs last year. Now, Ohtani, he was just through the roof in his final season, but look at the velocities, 98 and 100 miles an hour with Ohtani, so those are pretty close. If we take a look at the walks, he was in the 31st percentile, while Ohtani was in the 36th. Now, Ohtani definitely had the edge in strikeouts, but he was at a respectable the 86th percentile, and he was in the 88th percentile, while Ohtani was at the 92nd. So, yeah, Ohtani definitely is the better pitcher here, but Fujinami, if he does what he did last year, he definitely, I think, could have some success here, and he could be a really under the radar signing. Taking a look actually at the numbers from last year, over 25 games he had a 3.10 ERA, 115 strikeouts, over 107 and a third innings. Now, hey, again, this guy, like I said, he was in the same draft class as Ohtani, and he got a lot of attention when he was coming out, and it hasn't worked out quite yet for him, but maybe at the major league level, maybe he can figure something out. And at number 1, I have the Rockies trading for Nolan Jones. Nolan Jones was a top prospect at one point for the Cleveland Guardians. Taking a look at his scouting report, not a whole lot of hit tool, but a lot of power with Nolan Jones. 50 as of right now, could be 60 in the future, and a 70 raw power across the board. He had a cup of coffee last year. The Guardians gave him a shot. 28 games, he hit 244, 309 on base, only a 372 slugging. Not really a whole lot to show for, but the tools are there. The power is there. Put him in Coors Field, and if he can figure something out, the Rockies, they've done pretty well over the years with developing hitters. Man, if with this kind of power and you put him in Coors Field, who knows, man? This could end up being a steal for the Rockies. We'll just have to wait and see. This guy was regarded as a top prospect in the game. You know, ended up not really figuring it out with the Guardians all that much. Couldn't really get his way into the lineup as much as he had wanted, and he had struggled in the minor leagues. You know, if you go take a look at 2021, he only hit 238, but the on-base was still pretty good. His on-base numbers have been good recently in the minor leagues, and the average did go up last year in AAA. I'm just excited to see, with the power that he has, can he find a home in Colorado? We'll just have to wait and see. But that is my list. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Would you add any moves to this list of underrated moves this offseason? Let me know. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.